A lot of those folks had their grandparents now were doing well. They were middle class. They worked at the factory. They worked at the plant. All those jobs went overseas to China, Mexico, and all of a sudden there's literally no jobs except for fast food work, or if you want to do like the most popular jobs in Milwaukee in the hood right now are adult home health care. So someone's grandpa that is poor lives on Medicaid, and then there's a house that 3 or 4 of those guys stay and someone watched them around the clock, or daycares. And most of those workers, I see the check stubs because they apply to the properties I have. They're doing $13 an hour, $14 an hour. Rent is skyrocketing. So even a piece of shit place, like Milwaukee there's a book called Evicted that was written about Milwaukee. It's like the slumlord. There's a lot of slumlord places in the country, but there's a lot of slumlords in Milwaukee. I've walked hundreds of properties in Milwaukee. So I've walked places that literally there's a hole in the ceiling, a big hole in the ceiling coming from through the second floor, through the first floor, because the landlord hasn't replaced the roof. And they have a bucket in their living room. Places where it's like, I've asked people, people have asked like, hey, are you renting? My sink hasn't worked in 3 weeks or 3 months. And it's like, how are you still paying rent? There's slumlords, but then there's also like, I've had really terrible tenants. I just paid $17K to renovate a place that some lady beat to shit in 6 months.
How did she beat it to shit?
She left I guess she left 3 dogs in there for like a week by themselves. Huh. So the carpet was ripped out. There was poop in every room. And she owed me 4 months of rent. So like I tried to work with her. So I lost that rent. I had to redo the entire house.
And you can't take her to court.
I mean, I usually don't do anything after the eviction. I actually try never, I've never had a sheriff take someone out. Like that's really, it can go. But I always I give them so many options to get out of it. But her in particular is the only person I file a judgment against. Because I'm like, when I walked in and I saw how bad she fucked the place up, I'm just like, I was just going to let the $5 or $6 grand slide. But now that you did this to the place, I'm at least going to let every landlord that you are going to apply to see it on your record. Because that was bullshit, dude. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, people, especially when something's not theirs, people get a little loose with things. But that's nice. A whole nother level.
One of the things I try and do, I'll show you a couple of the pictures. I'm going to show you pictures of a property.
What are you working with? An iPhone fucking
12.
8 there?
It's one of the minis. It's one of the minis.
But you're a no case. Is that a case? Or?
It's a little case. I probably should get a bigger one because I drop this shit all the time.
Yeah, it looks
but
like
look at the pictures of this place. That place is in a fucking war zone. There's literally.
I just clicked off it. Sorry.
Let's see. This is also in a war zone, but they're right here. 11th.
This is your place.
11th and Atkinson. Yeah. So outside, there's literally a wrap around a tree of a memorial to a person that got shot out there.
But this is beautiful.
It's beautiful. So our business model is in the hood is we'll buy a place that was abandoned for 3 years, or it's cheap. We might buy a place for $30K, $35K, put 25 into it, make it the nice house on the block for a long ways away. And then we get a person that wants to live there forever because they're like, holy shit, this is on 11th and Atkinson. This is on 11th and Keefe. They move in and they think it's a scam at first until they walk in. They're like, there's no way this place is here. Our bet is that people are going to want to love that place as much as we did and to invest into it, that they're going to want to be there for years. So no turnover. They raised a family there. We'll see. I mean, we were burned by this other lady that...
Yeah, that's not good.
But you win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. But we've talked a little bit about you going to St. Louis. I think you've done a couple videos there, right?
Yeah, I hope it's not the most dangerous city in 2024 because I really don't want to go back there again.
How do they measure it being most dangerous? Is it like homicides?
Homicide. They'll have murder rate per capita.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you fix a place like that? Is it fixable?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an attitude in the hood that I think I don't quite agree with, which is they don't want to see us win. I actually think the opposite. I think a lot of people want to see the hood do well. I don't think people want to live in areas where they're afraid of gunshots. They want to be afraid of robberies. They don't want to be afraid of reckless drivers. I think people want to see other people win because it's better for everyone if everyone's winning. How do you fix a place like that? Right now, it's like pushing a really heavy rock up a mountain because there's so many things you have to overcome to fix it. I think both of us probably subscribe to the ideology of individual culture means a lot. And that's the only thing you can control.
Yes.
I think people have to have a little bit of different priorities. But let's just say, okay, we'll cover in a few different areas. What can the government do? I don't think daddy government's ever going to fix anything. But if they can have a little bit of momentum be added. What I think they can do is recruit really good paying manufacturing jobs, plant jobs back to that area so that tons of people have high paying wages that they can eventually become homeowners or move out to a different area or at least stabilize an area, because I'll reference that book Evicted again. In Milwaukee, 1 out of every 9 single moms gets evicted every single year. So you wonder why blocks are really crazy. There's no more like, oh, that's Mr. Smith, that's Mr. Johnson, that's Mr. whatever. People are all, it's like a shuffling deck.
Yeah.
So now you don't get time to, hey, why should I meet this new lady that just moved in? She's probably going to be gone in a year anyways. So now there's a lot more instability. So bring back really good jobs that people can be proud of, they can buy homes with, and they can be stable. I would say, if I was, this is not a popular thing to say, especially if I was in the hood, but I would say I would recruit like the best police people I could find. I'd make, and I'm not saying like the bruisers, but I'm saying people that aren't afraid and people that are going to hold people accountable. If you rob somebody, sorry, but you're going to get caught. If you kill somebody, the homicide solve rate in a city like Milwaukee, I think is like 40%.
40%.
Chicago, I think it's like 30.
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
Isn't Milwaukee where they had like that viral sheriff video where he was talking about like all the murder? You know what I'm talking about? He was talking about like all the murders that happened and some reporter was bothering him about some.
And then he just goes off on her?
Yeah.
Yes, that's Milwaukee.
Can we pull up that video,
Yeah.
Alessi? It's going to be like Milwaukee sheriff goes off on reporter on YouTube. I want people to see this because this was, I want to say this was during some of the height of like the riots and stuff like that. Is that right?
There were, I'll give you the color on why the riots happened. The riots happened. There's a gentleman by the name of Sylvia Smith, who I don't know what he was wanted for, but he was
in St. Louis. Yeah.
No, in Milwaukee.
I'm sorry, in Milwaukee. Yeah.
But he was in the streets. He was a street guy.
This was where what's his face got in trouble, right?
Not George Floyd.
No. What the fuck is it? Kyle Rittenhouse, right?
Close. Kenosha, which is like 40 minutes away.
Okay, got it.
A black cop shot a black guy, but the narrative was that got out is the white cop did it. So all of a sudden the city started burning down. And if you see the video on what this guy did to a police officer, he was running, he turns, reaches into his waistband, pulls out a gun, goes like this. As soon as he gets to like here,
shot.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there was a riot about that, which to me is like,
what is the cop supposed to do there?
Dude, is he supposed to just take
please
submachine gun fire? But like, come on, like, if the cop shot him in the back, I'd be like, you know what, that's messed up. Like any cop that does something really wrong,
yeah,
take him to court,
agreed,
have him serve his time. It should be a case by case thing. But let's see. Edward
yeah, we have the video.
Certainly, there are some folks in this community that are legitimately grieving, and we learn from them. There are a lot of folks who believe the First Amendment only applies to them and took great pains to shout down anybody that disagreed with them. Despite my ongoing disagreements with the police union, I have to say that their members tonight conducted themselves, I thought, with great restraint, given the ad hominem invective that was being unleashed on their work personally and the police department generally. So, this is a controversy. This is a tragedy. I've said it over and over again. It's a tragedy for the family. Tragedy for Officer Manning, it's a tragedy for the community. But I'm not blind to the fact that there's a lot of people lining up to take advantage of this tragedy to flog their own agendas, and that was clear tonight as well.
You're accused of saying something to one of the protesters or one of the people in the stands. He accused you of...
he was making so much noise, I have no idea what he's talking about.
He's going into Clint Eastwood mode.
He feels insulted. Too bad.
Get off my lawn.
What's your response to some of the people that thought you were being disrespectful by being on your phone and not being attentive to them?
Well, I was on my phone, and yes, that's true. I was following developments with a 5-year-old little girl sitting on her dad's lap who just got shot in the head by a drive-by shooting. And if some of the people here gave a good goddamn about the victimization of people in this community by crime, I take some of their invective more seriously. The greatest racial disparity in the city of Milwaukee is getting shot and killed. Hello. 80% of my homicide victims every year are African American. 80% of our aggravated assault victims are African American. 80% of our shooting victims who survived their shooting are African American. Now, they know all about the last 3 people that have been killed by the Milwaukee Police Department over the course of the last several years. There's not one of them can name one of the last 3 homicide victims we've had in this city.
Now, there's room for
No, I
everyone.
have a
but we
point
may
on
be
this.
mixing
This has
possible.
been something I'm actually thinking about a lot lately, and it's like this, Julian. If I invited you to my house and you're a plumber, I have 2 leaks going on. There's one leak that 99% of the water is coming from, and there's one leak that 1% of the water is
That's
coming
right.
from. What are you going to fix?
99%.
But we as a culture, in the media, as a country, like we're too afraid to say like, oh, we're just going to like, and the 1% is important. A 1% leak can still mess up a house. But the 99% leak is really where we need to look. And for some reason, you can't say it. You can't talk about it. And especially 2 white guys can't talk about it. But it's like he just said 80% of them homicide victims in Milwaukee are black. I just looked at the most recent statistics. I think it's close to 95%.
Oh my God.
So it's like there's something really crazy happening. And until we're comfortable looking at it in the mirror and saying what's going on and coming up with real solutions rather than just putting our pronouns in our emails,
That's right.
we're going to be in the same position, if not worse, years to come.
It feels like there's an incentive for teams. We talk about this with different guests on the podcast all the time. It always comes up. But, you know, the profit is in the disparity of opinions. It's not in people having common ground because, you know, when people watch the news, they don't watch the news when everything's good outside. They watch the news when everything's to shit because like, oh my God, what's going on, right? Negativity sells. It's like, I think, what was the line? There's an old show, The Newsroom. Aaron Sorkin wrote it. Yeah, Aaron Sorkin wrote it. But he called it like tragedy porn or something like that. And that's exactly what it is. And so, you know, you have 2 sides where it may be on one end, you have some legitimate videos of like a cop doing something horrible to someone who may be black in that case. And yeah, like you said, they should be prosecuted the whole bit and we should give it attention.
Yeah.
On the other end, we have maybe like an epidemic of homicides that could be occurring in place X or place Y. And that should be given the same attention. But the media sells on the old like Stalin quote of the tragedy of one death over the statistic of many.
I think part of it though is like the injustice of being killed by a cop is so much worse than like a street dude killing a street dude because it's like, wait, you're the ones we're supposed to trust. You're the ones that are supposed to actually help justice. So when you do it, it's like 100 times worse than when some other guy does it. So like part of me does understand, and there still are cases that I can't believe the cop never got in trouble. Like in New York, I believe it was the guy that got choked to death, Eric Garner, for selling cigarettes.
That was so
He
bad.
was selling cigarettes, and the cops killed him, and nothing happened to any of the cops. So I think, especially in the black community, it's like you look at time after time after time where these high-profile cases, and nothing happens to the cops, and it's just like, well, what the hell? I thought I was an American too.
Yeah. You also have a pendulum too.
Yeah.
Right? So you go, you know, you get a Giuliani Bloomberg, right? You're going to move to de Blasio after that. And then the pendulum will swing back and forth. So you can you can never really get it like right here where there's a good balance. It always swings hard one way or the other because when it's swinging one way, that creates people more pissed off. That's why whenever there's a president of, you know, Democrat or Republican in office, the other side gets the most noise because they're not in power and they get the leverage to be like, fuck the man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That always happens. You look at every president since whatever, like you can go all the way back to Eisenhower and, you know, it's mostly like this. Sometimes you get an extra 4 years on one side, but that's it.
The thing that's really confusing is, let's say that we were, you know, in an office environment. We had a few other guys in the room. If there was a mutual project we were working on, we'd have a round table, we'd have ideas, we'd have a whiteboard, we'd think about it, and we'd all come to a conclusion that helps the team. But for some reason in politics right now, they act like they literally are not part of the same goals when they should be. And it's so weird to see, like, you see it every time at the State of the Union address. Like when the Republican says something cool, all the Republicans stand up and do this shit. And it's like, it looks so stupid.
Yeah.
And if you're a Republican, you can never clap when the Democrat says something that you actually agree with. Those, we got to like wipe the board off and start drawing again because it's like, it's just frustrating to see.
But don't you think as human beings throughout our history, we're drawn to tribes?
Of course. But why can't we be Tribe America versus tribe like internal division of America?
So my friend Andy Bustamante, who's been on this show a few times, he was Did you ever have access to, let's say, government secrets that were so big that humanity could never find out about it?
Humanity is too big of a word. So I would say I have absolutely had access to secrets that would impact how the American public would respond.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning the roles that I filled, the operations that I participated in, were operations that were relevant and impactful to Americans. They were relevant and impactful to other countries as well, but never humanity as a whole.
Allegedly a former CIA spook, but you know,
Supposedly, I mean,
supposedly,
we'll see the
probably
documents
still
if they
is.
come out, yeah.
But he had a line in episode 107 with me that is one of those that rings in my head to this day at all times, and it's not something he wants. He's just stating what he views as a fact, and I hate the fact that he might be right. He was talking about how we need an enemy. He said we need an enemy to unite around as a country. And if you look at history of empires, countries, whatever you want to say, that is a common thing. When there's not something on the outside that people are afraid of, they have to turn inward on each other.
Perfect example is how unified the country was post 9/11.
Yes.
Everyone had an American flag. I remember even the newspaper would put an American flag in there and people would cut it out and put it in their little windows. And it felt so good. So it's almost like, do we need to do a false flag attack on another country for us to get unified? What's it going to take? But it is true. We are meant to have opposition. And like, you know, in the medieval times, we're slaying the dragon. And the dragon needs to be something that unifies us rather than divides us. And right now it feels like each other is the dragon, and it's not so healthy.
Yeah. And in a weird way, guys like you have catapulted in the post-pandemic era to the front lines of this, because you, with no journalism degree, no background, that kind of stuff, are going inside in the nitty-gritty of stories, man on the street type style. Literally you and Miguel, and I think you have one other guy, Keegan, right? You're going in there with your cameras and you are just rolling and you're capturing what you get, and then you're putting it in a way that is actually, yes, entertaining for people. And these other journalists, you know, the thing we're not saying out loud here is, unlike you, who's independent and reports to you, they're paid. And somebody pays those guys. And somebody pays those guys. And somebody pays those guys. And so somewhere that we can't see, you want to get your tinfoil hat on. It's not very tinny. I mean, it's pretty accurate, right? It comes from somewhere, and it directs what they then put out as a product on the ground.
So even if the journalist themselves has an interest or an integrity, because they're under the umbrella, somehow it gets tainted along the way. And that's why the independents are taking over.
Right.
The independents answer to themselves. And if you answer to yourself, usually if you're doing it properly, you answer to your own passion and desire and curiosity. And that's always going to be a better story than someone telling you it has to fit like this into this box, rather than just, there is no box, you just create the piece.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier about how you're protective of your sources, and you were saying like some people give you shit for that. But I don't understand why people would give you shit for that, because if people want to see what's happening and want to have a better understanding of what goes on in places that they're not around, or that may somehow impact them downstream because of what it's doing to society, like what the hell else are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go in there and see if you can get that underground reporting. That is what made Vice great around the world, not just in America. They went into these places.
Yeah, and also, if, let's just say, someone were to get in trouble for my video, I might never have the opportunity to work with future people. And like the biggest thing that is to just figure out how people think. I actually there's a couple of Milwaukee police officers that go to my jiu-jitsu school, and they were like, "Thank you for putting out the Kia Boy video, because we've been trying to explain how these kids think and how reckless and how like nihilistic and, I don't want to say bloodthirsty, but okay with violence that they are, that we're happy people see their mentality. So now when we do bust them, and if it goes wrong and they shoot at us and we have to shoot back, it's like, did you not hear how they think, kind of a thing, you know?"
Yeah. Alessi, can you pull that video up real quick? I want to go towards the end of this real fast.
When he says it's going to be a bloody summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it just was so, it's like you said, it was so exact and kind of callous. I think it's like, the second one right there. All right. So cut to like 5 minutes left. And let's turn that volume on.
It might be one of the last Spike moments.
Okay. Try that second to last spike. Is the volume on?
You know what I mean?
That's the guy that got me the connection.
What
right
happened
there.
over there, man?
Man, he was doing 80
Hustle
and
Team
tried to
B.
eat
Shout
break,
out my
can't
guy
do
Hustle
that.
Team B.
The guy's on the fucking car. Oh, fuck, my car's up there.
Oh, you
I
have
don't
your
want my
car
car.
parked.
You see people running for their life up there, dude? Did you see that?
That's the famous Kia boy. When they're in there, they
These
do
kids
this
are
as
gonna
much as they
fucking
can.
die. I'm getting scared watching it. I'm not even in the car.
Hey, y'all see that we Hot Wheels?
He has
We
a
like
pipe
Hot
in his
Wheels
left
on the-
pocket,
you
so I didn't
see
realize
how
this
fast
until
the tire
afterwards.
That was crazy.
Hot Wheels, man.
You got some cojones, man. That's for sure.
Hell yeah.
Have you ever gotten into a police chase before?
They can't chase because they
You see
can,
what the
but
ankle
like,
bracelet on?
after you doing so much dangerous shit, they gotta terminate it.
You're a reckless man, you know that? Are you ever sitting in the back of the car thinking, I really wish I wasn't here because this is scary as fuck?
No, I don't drive in the back seat. If I'm in the joint, I'm in the front seat.
So you're driving or nothing?
Yeah. I'm Mr. E-Brake. They call me Mr. E-Brake.
Where do you guys put these things?
Oh, that's him.
This is what you do. You ride through the hood,
You see,
you see abandoned house, and then you see if they got an open garage. Shit, the garage open parking it. Sometimes your car be there, sometimes you won't. Shit.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Imagine being
Help you
UPS just working that route.
Because this is crazy. Sir, can I ask you another question, Professor E-Brake? How are you going to be an astronaut or an entrepreneur if you're getting yourself into trouble with these Kias?
Shit, I don't even ride joint shit. I ain't gonna lie. Like, only time I got in a stolen car, say if my boy called me like, I got something fat. I'm like, damn, I gotta drive that. I ain't drive that yet, so.
Does being a keyboard get you chicks?
Mr. E-Brake is honestly hilarious. I told him he should go into stand-up comedy.
They hit a bus?
Oh, he's getting a call about him in the bus.
Can you put it on speaker?
How the bus hit you, bro?
It's the thing that I'm trying to process right now. Like, to me, this is completely crazy and wild. But to you, this is just, what day is it? Tuesday, huh?
Yeah.
Just another Tuesday for you.
Tuesday.
So can you describe what you're doing right now?
Oh, shit. These motherfuckers in the system, they know these very well.
Do you know any keyboards that have been shot at while stealing a car?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in
Do you
there
have
with
friends that have gotten in trouble
That's
and
in
are
my
in the
car.
system right now or in jail right now?
Yeah.
There they go right Uh-oh, here we go.
Is that another one?
I ain't used to do no shit like that back in my day. See, and that's what I say, like, not to that extreme. This shit changed so much.
Go, roll. Oh, shit.
This was an insane video. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I don't
my
understand why
gosh.
they do that.
Hey, not the Chevy, though. Go hit the Chevy. Hold on.
Did you see that girlie almost?
And this is
almost
why
smoked her.
I need help on my Patreon. We're trying to take shit to the next level right now. We're doing more angles, more cuts, more scenes. We're on the block kind of doing dangerous shit. This is some wild shit. So, Patreon link in bio.
Where is this? Is the line
Every time
coming?
they pass my car, I'm like, please not my car. Please not
It's
my
when we're
car.
in a back
These kids
alley.
is like fucking ping pong to them. That's how casual they are about stealing a car. Should we clear out of here?
Yeah, they calling the police.
Okay, shit's getting hot.
Yeah, hell yeah. Y'all see I wasn't gonna smack that motherfucker. I told y'all.
He did tell us that.
I'll tell you guys like this, all right? First, thanks for giving us a show. That was fucking something I've never seen before in person. The other thing is, as like a big brother, I just hope that you guys stay okay, stay safe. I don't want to see anything bad happen to you guys, okay?
Yeah, that's a freshly stolen car.
All right.
Hey,
yeah.
make sure y'all blur out the plates.
Yeah.
They have charges for that shit.
But I wish the best for you guys. I hope you stay safe. Or maybe you become a professional boxer. Maybe you become an astronaut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you guys got any final thoughts or anything you want to say to the camera?
Nope.
What about to the people in Milwaukee out there?
Man, stop trying to crack joints down. Stay dangerous, man. Summer, bloody summer, man. Y'all, a lot of niggas gonna die. It ain't meant for a lot of niggas.
That's
Look at my face. When he said that, I was just like, I was trying to give him a softball to redeem himself. Like, okay, he said a lot of crazy shit. Like, do you have any positive message to end things off? Bloody summer, bloody summer. I was like, oh man.
how do you keep a straight face like that? Like that was a pretty clean. Like okay, whatever. Like how do you keep a straight face with that?
I guess I just try and stay in the moment as best as possible. And some of it is so wild that you're still like kind of processing it as it's happening. I mean, to think that they hit a school bus 2 blocks away.
He's just
and
getting a call. Chill.
They almost crashed into the neighbor's front lawn when they were trying to show off. That's the other thing. Like we did learn a lot from the Kia Boy video. Like I don't film with minors anymore. I didn't know they were minors because I didn't want to ask them too many questions on the phone.
I mean, the one guy was like 4 feet tall.
I know. But here's the thing: when I was on FaceTime with him, I didn't want to ask him too many questions to get him like spooked about me, you know. But then after that, it was like the 18 and below are so reckless. Like, dude, it's the 14, 15-year-old kids that are doing some of the most crazy shit right now. So it's like I need to film with a guy that at least is considered an adult, because otherwise the young kids will unnecessarily do stuff to like, I never have once gone to a place and be like, pull out every gun you've ever owned in your life. But sometimes you'll show up and they'll be like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And it's like you have to tell them, like the St. Louis video, like, hey, please don't point that at my camera guy, you know?
Miguel's out there just getting heat turned on him. That was in that video. You were asking the kid though. There was one, the St. Louis one. You were asking him like, "What do you think they should teach in school?" And he's like, "I think they should teach everyone how to use a gun. Everybody should have a gun." And I'm looking around. I'm like, well, all their guns are probably illegal too. I take it, right?
St. Louis has very pro gun laws. Like if you like slanging and banging, it's a good city for you to be
like
in.
what?
Slanging and banging.
Oh, slanging and banging.
That white boy in the St. Louis video beat his murder charge. Free my boy. He actually just released a rap song called "First Day Out." Actually, this might be worth seeing.
Yeah,
why am I? His name is CTS
Should
Lawick.
he have beat this murder charge?
I think actually like it was self-defense.
Okay.
But he's like, man.
So he admitted it.
He is the look at that guy. Look at that motherfucker, dude. He's the blackest white guy I've ever met in my life, dude.
Oh my god. Are we gonna get a copyright strike for this?
We'll see.
I'll keep the volume. I'm keeping the volume off this thing. Oh my god. If people can see it on the screen, just seeing it's enough, I promise you.
That's how St. Louis is, dude.
Look at it. It's him and all black guys.
And these guns are not just like run-of-the-mill guns.
Oh no, they're nice. They're nice. Joe Ted, I would have a field day.
Shout out my dog CTS Lawick. We might do like a hardest white boy in America episode with him.
What was the video you did with him the first time? Was it specifically on him, or was he a part of it?
Just he showed. Video? I didn't even know who I was meeting that day. Like we just had this one guy. He's gonna be mad that I forget his name, but we had a guy like, yeah, you'll link up with my boys. They some rappers. Pull up to this block, and all of a sudden, all those kids are there with the guns out, and I'm like, oh my god. What are we doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, is this even? And then like every car they would drive by, they'd be like watching it. I'm just like looking at where I should, like if I need to run, where I should run. Like I'm like, and then they asked if I want to like hold one of them, and then go to a corner store while holding one of their guns. I'm just thinking,
there's a legal problem with that, right? You can't just do that.
If I touch it, I'd probably be linked to like 14 murders by now, dude.
Yeah. How often do you get a call from like cops or the feds looking for stuff?
So I've gotten 2 visits.
That's it?
That's it, because I'm a journalist. I don't have to do anything.
Doesn't stop them from trying.
But and shout out to my lawyer Dan Adams. The day the Kia Boy video came out, he hit me up. He's like, if any law enforcement hits you up, you send them to me. You have a right as a journalist to do this stuff, and you don't have to say anything. I was like, okay, that's good. That's good to know. So Milwaukee PD came to my house after the Kia Boy video. And I said, hey guys, you know, actually I sent them to the backyard because I live close enough to a bad area that if someone even sees me talking to a police, even if I say nothing, it's like it's a big risk.
Oh yeah.
So I sent them to my backyard on my porch. My dog was still a puppy at the time. My little puppy starts trying to hump this detective's leg, and then they toss this like manila folder onto my patio table. And I'm like, guys, I can't say anything. I hope you understand, but I'm a journalist, and you know, I wish you guys the best. They said, I just want to know one thing. Do you feel like these kids had any remorse for what they were doing? I was like, it didn't really seem like it. And they're like, thank you. And then they left. I got a call later that they said I have to come in because someone had made a threat on me, and they wanted to see if it was credible or not, if I wanted to take any action, which I saw the threat and just like wiped it off the table. Hey, we're good. Because at that time, even walking into the police station to see that, they don't know what I'm walking in there for. I was just nervous that someone was going to spot me driving and think that I was going to be a snitch. So, and then I did get visited by the FBI.
Oh, shit.
I did a redneck video in Tennessee.
What was that? I didn't see this one.
It was like most redneck place in America, East Tennessee, Appalachia. Shout out my guy, Shaka Hustleman. He's rapping out there. And
wait, Rednecks rapping?
Oh, he's good, dude. He's really good.
Shaka Hustleman?
Have you heard of Yellow Wolf? He's kind of like a new age Yellow Wolf. He's good.
New age redneck, new age.
Oh, my lawyer's right there. Shout out.
That's your lawyer?
That's my guy right there.
That's a clean looking lawyer.
He's a good guy.
I was
really
picturing
good guy.
more of a Saul Goodman.
Yeah.
See more of your style.
Yeah. But like at some point in this video, maybe 14 minutes in
Tennessee, Appalachia.
My name is Shaka Hustleman, and in East Tennessee, we will protect these kids.
Yay!
Oh my God. my God, the Trump poster. We have.
Is that your first
Hold on,
drink?
I want
12
this
years
one.
old? Yeah, and I smoked my first when I was 5.
So
What do you picture when you think of the most redneck place in America? Perhaps you picture rural Alabama or somewhere near the Florida Everglades. What I picture is eastern Tennessee.
Oh, you put the accent on.
That was one accent that I could actually do without like getting shit for it because it's another white boy. So I lean into it.
And it's not uncommon to still spot a Confederate flag flying. It's a place where gas stations sell an awful lot
I
of
love
chewing
the Israel
tobacco,
flag
and
next
the
to
boys
Confederate
in town drive
flag.
trucks. In this episode, I meet with local resident rapper Shaka Hustle Man. Here's what this kid sounds like. Just sticking like I'm bound to make a spear. I knock your ass straight the fuck
Out of here.
We are the most culturally confused. Oh my God.
In this episode,
Okay.
we shoot guns,
He's sick.
get mud on our boots, and meet the local
So let me
folks.
tell you what
Everything
happened.
You see
So at one point in the video, I say, Joe Biden, you come and try and take our guns. So the FBI came to my house. 2 FBI guys, 2 Milwaukee PD.
FBI or Secret Service? Because is that a threat against him?
Secret Service. I have the video on my phone of them going onto coming onto the porch.
Okay.
I think Secret Service. They were like 2 really nerdy guys too. Like they just sit down. Like I offer them a seat in the family room, and they're like, "So what did you mean when you said Joe Biden?" And I was like, "Sir, I was with a bunch of rednecks. You're shooting guns. I thought it was just funny to say. I really don't have anything against Joe Biden." And then they asked me like, "Have you had suicidal thoughts? Do you have a gun in the house? Are you on prescription for this?" No. So then I'm like, "All right, guys." But part of me was like, you know what? It's good that they actually they have their hands on things. Like they're doing their job. So I didn't have an issue with it, but it was like a little bit like I was looking at my wife in the family room. I'm like, what the hell is this, dude?
No, they take that shit they have to take it seriously. We just had Evie Pomporis in here, which we had to fix up some of that file, so I don't know when that's coming out yet, but she was awesome. She was a long-time Secret Service, and she used to do some of that, like where she had to go out to a spot because someone said, I'm going to kill, I'm not going to say it now on camera, but they'd say things like that. But this is, when I look at a video like this one, it just reminds me, the imagery, by the way, spot on. Shout out Miguel. Capturing everything in there with just the ambiance, setting the scene at the beginning. Your montages and your videos are really good because they make you have to watch the rest.
He's the man.
But I see this and I'm like, this is the most culturally confused time in the history of the world. You got a ghetto, very white, redneck, singing about lean drank, shooting guns out, loving Trump in the middle of the woods with Israeli flags in there.
You know what? This is one thing I want. I want rednecks and I want hood black people to know. You guys are much more similar than the media will convince you.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the same values, a little bit more conservative. They like their Second Amendment rights. They just want to drink beer and have the government not bother them. Dude, imagine what a dream team coalition that would be. The government would really be scared. If they just made some sort of gang that was between the 2 of them, they would run shit all day. It might not be the most fun place to live. It'd be a little reckless, but it would be fun.
I need, the picture of the Bloods and the Crips guy holding up the truce flag. I need that with Rednecks.
They got the Confederate flag linking with a few bandanas,
Oh my God. Actually, I don't know that I've ever heard someone make that point though. That's scarily spot on. And then there's just a weird identity thing that, gets forced into these groups to be oh, well, we stay with us, we stay with us.
Yeah. There was a book by Thomas Sowell called The Black Redneck. And his point is that redneck culture and hood culture actually comes from English rednecks. The way they, from how they treat women, education, the way they talk. I don't know if it's English, basically country English folks. And I don't know if they also lived in America at one time, but a lot of that culture seeped in from those folks. And now white rednecks took it and black hood folks kind of took that. When you talk about cultural appropriation, the line never ends because we all borrow stuff from.
That's right.
So that whole subject is a funny one to me because it's did we culturally appropriate the guy that invented electricity?
That's
Like,
right.
if we're not of his heritage, are we allowed to have it? And what about the microphone? What about
That's right. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but Joe Rogan invented red curtains. We're
You're
not allowed to have
culturally
red curtains.
appropriating
We're
them, dude.
culturally appropriating.
God damn it!
We had this for 4 years.
You
in
have
the
to
last
play.
studio,
You have to
no one
pay
cared.
Joe Rogan reparations.
That's right.
Dude.
That's right. He invented them.
Yeah.
It's the whole, like, something snapped. I don't, it's hard to say exactly when, but it's definitely the social media era that did it. There's something that snapped where people needed a reason to have to point a finger at other people, and they just decided to make everything identity.
Identity
very
politics is a
fascinating.
cancer, dude.
Yes.
It's a cancer.
Do you think it's going away, though?
I think the pendulum's swinging back to the point where people are not afraid to call total bullshit, especially with like the gender stuff. Like, I had a girl from jiu-jitsu, a friend that I really like, but she's super woke, like a classic blue hair. And she wanted to babysit my boy. And like, she'd already gotten mad at me because I made a story post about like these gender inclusive bathrooms at the university that is local. And I'm like, of all the budget in the university, like this is the renovation budgets went to doing this with the bathroom. So I have to like shit next to Stacy in science class who I have a crush on. Like, how is that a good thing for, like, just make one stall bathrooms that anyone can go in. But anyways, she was like, oh, I want to babysit your baby. I was like, if you ever were, he is a boy and that's it. Like, there is no other options. He's a boy. And I mean, you'd have to accept those terms. And she's like, okay. Like, there's just certain things that I think even 3 years ago, people were kind of scared to say their opinions on. And now it's just like, yeah, we've seen how ridiculous it's gotten and we don't have to like play along with it anymore. Like, you can do it in the safety of your own house or with your own friends. This is America. You get to do that, but you don't have, you're not going to put it on us anymore.
Yeah, you can't force people to do things that they don't want to do.
And things that are stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah, we're busy fighting over stuff that really doesn't matter.
If you look at the priority list of the country, is your email pronouns at the top of the list? No. It's how can we make healthcare affordable even if you don't work for a corporation? How do we make housing affordable? What do we do about inflation? What do we do about jobs that are actually going to pay the bills so you don't have to have 2 or 3 jobs? There's a lot of things on this list that, our budget, the Department of Defense has failed their audit 10 years in a row. We don't know where $3.2 trillion has gone.
Wait, what's up with the 3.2 trillion?
We don't know where it is. We don't know where it is. We don't know where it went.
Can we Google this?
Yes.
Okay.
Department of Defense failed audit. I was just doing research on this. It is mind-blowing because as you, a business owner, me, a business owner, we cannot afford to fail an audit 10 years in a row and survive. We'd either be in jail or bankrupt. The government, let's see, 6 audit. There's another one. I don't know if there's a $3.2 trillion you can. 3.8 right here. 3.8 trillion.
Oh,
I was giving them a
worse.
benefit of the doubt.
Look at you. All right, let's hit that.
That is a sum of money that is absurd.
This was not a surprise. That's a direct quote. Pentagon again fails annual audit.
And they keep raising the taxes that we have to pay them. How insane is that?
Look, this is where I'm also like, I want us to have the best defense and the best ability if we needed to do things.
Of
right?
course.
But there has to be a line with when you keep on saying, hey, don't worry, we got this, to people that then have to pay out of their
If you
money.
are not responsible with the taxpayer money, you get fired or you get replaced. Let's hire someone that if you can't balance the budget, you're out. It's that simple. Like, there should be. Have you gone into many government jobs? I don't care if it's on a city level or state or national level. That it's like, wow, these people are efficient. I work with the city of Milwaukee for real estate, dude. It is ridiculous. I've waited 2 months for an email. Like, let's say I'm trying to get a tenant on Section 8 and they need a house like now. Because once they sign with me, they have a 30-day notice to their last landlord. So they're on a ticking time bomb to transition. And then you'll get guys that, hey, sorry, I was 2 months behind on my emails. And it's like, Bob, what the fuck is going on in this office? There's no, like, we need to make it where there's incentives. Like in a sales job, you get your little base salary and then you get your commission. And people get motivated by commission. We need a commission structure with government jobs that they actually want to do things well and fast. Like, you go, there's so many places. Like, there's a group called Community Advocates in Milwaukee, and some of them people I've worked with are really good. Like, when a tenant runs into trouble, a landlord can decide to help them. And every time I do, if I have the opportunity, hey, I'll help you fill out this paperwork so you can get 3 months of rent. so you can stay stabilized. You get like the most added, like they act like if you walk in their office, like, who the fuck? Like they act like it's your job. You literally signed up for the application to do this. And I come in, I'm trying to do something, and they act like it's an imposition, you know?
But the problem with the incentivization though is then the taxpayers will complain. Like if someone hits like some crazy numbers or something.
Or they'll find a way to like fudge it where it's
That's right.
like, oh, he hit his 10 numbers and he's getting paid $100,000 biweekly check, you know?
Speaking of incentivization,
the mayor of
your
Dalton.
favorite mayor in America. Can we pull this video
Hey,
up?
Tiffany Henyard, I hope you're doing good in Cook County Jail. I'll put some money on your commissary, maybe. And Officer Lacey, you still have not accepted my $2,000 challenge to meet in any MMA gym in Wisconsin or Illinois. This man has a $2,000 challenge. He's a big, tough guy. You know,
This is the guy in the video.
he's a poussé, as they say in France.
poussé.
I think that's what they say in
How do
France.
They say it like that?
I think they say that.
All right, let's play this for a sec.
The goons had come out. She refers to herself as the super mayor as well as the most powerful woman in Chicago's South Side. But does she use her power for good? People on the internet and in her own community have been calling her the most corrupt
look at
mayor
that
in America.
jacket.
And here are some of the things she's been accused of. Stripping business licenses away from people that don't contribute to her charity, pay-for-play kickbacks and bribes, taking lavish first-class trips on the taxpayer dime, making the city pay for her own personal ice skating rink, using the taxpayer money as a marketing budget for self-promotion for things like 122
Is that a
billboards
music
with
video?
her face on it, and using tens of thousands of taxpayer money.
Every
dollars
billboard
per
has
month
her
to hire
face
a
on it,
PR
even if it has
firm that's
nothing to do with
designed
it.
to clean up her image. And I'll give her this:
Huge
her
bitch.
image is tough to clean up. Here's some more reasons why. She double dips as both the mayor of Dalton and the village of Thornton Township supervisor, and she's made it so that if she's not reelected as supervisor, the incoming person would receive a 90% pay cut.
Oh, that's
she's
nice.
racked up credit card debt like she's trying to set a record, and she tells the residents things like better have my money and compares herself to Martin Luther King. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's alleged that she rolls around like a crime boss. Some people claim that she's even gone as far as having the cars of people that oppose her shot up to intimidate them.
Oh
She
my
rolls
God.
around in a convoy of extensive private security, of course on the taxpayer dollar, and it's said that she has the police force in her pocket partly due to the outrageous amounts of overtime she allows
The
her
overtime
officers
was
to be
crazy,
paid.
man.
Again, on the taxpayer dollar. I hope you're noticing the theme here. Unfortunately for Tiffany and her police chief lapdog, Officer Louis Lacey, I have in my possession receipts, disciplinary forms, documents, and insider information that we will be diving into in great detail today. Folks, this channel does not stand for bullies, and by the end of my expose, I'm sure you'll draw the conclusion that Tiffany, Officer Lacey, and their cronies are not only bullies of the worst kind, but an absolute disgrace to the title of public servant. The FBI is currently investigating her, so I hope she gets to
she's
see this
fucked.
video, but I'm not sure what the Wi-Fi situation is in Cook County Jail. Let's begin the episode.
All right, let's pause it. So
First of
people
all,
definitely
shout
go
out
watch
to
this.
Miguel. How good was that intro?
Oh my
on the
God, it's so
editing side?
good. It's so good. Your edits are beautiful. The fact that he's doing all that,
He's
shout
the
out
man.
Miguel.
He's the absolute man.
How long have you had him?
A year and a half. He hit me up, and I'm like, "Oh, do you want to cover a gay pride parade?" He's like, "Sure." We drove to Chicago and we did that, and we've been working with each other ever since.
Now, did you edit everything yourself before that?
I used to,
Yeah.
and you can tell. I mean, it's not like if you look at the Las Vegas tunnel video, I edited that largely myself. I think almost entirely myself, and you know, it gets the point across. Like I still have the important conversations. I still get to hear the details of what's going on, but it's not like captivating.
It's not.
It's
the
bare bones
artist-
editing.
Right. That's a real artist rendition there. But he. Oh, this is the one you edited.
Oh, just listen to the intro song,
old people.
In and out of life again. Life again.
Would you say it's dangerous? I notice there's a lot of makeshift weapons around here.
It's actually like, I wouldn't believe this if I wasn't living it.
Tunnels are different.
This is pretty good.
I mean, but it's
Miguel,
not
but
like,
it's like
yeah. I mean, it gets the job done. If Miguel and Keegan got, you know, hit by a tornado, I could still put a video out, but it's not going to look nearly as good.
People that live there. Some people are on the run. Some people just like to live there and be out of society. Let me just say, I am nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. These are people that anything can go down. There's probably going to be machetes, knives. We're going down to explore. I have some special guests with me today. They're tagged in the description. We're here with Ethan. We're here with Colin. We're here with Lucci. We're here with Tyler.
But even that was about a year and a half ago. Like, I feel like we're finally like we could consider ourselves purple belts in the documentary
Yeah, I
space.
agree. Yeah.
I think our access to context is like a brown or black belt level. But like one thing we're really leveling up on is our voiceovers, our context, our
Yes.
education. Like one thing we determined just a few weeks ago is even if I'm covering like the craziest Cambodian bloods of Stockton, I don't want to just get that. I want to one make it more well-rounded by having more characters in the story that aren't gangster, but two, I want everyone to walk away with something that they've actually learned that they had no idea before they watched the video. A goal is now to have, I want high school teachers around America to show my videos to their kids. When they're lost, they're out of options. Like, how am I going to teach these kids? They don't want to learn from me. I can't speak their style. Okay, we're going to put on a Tommy G video that teaches them about
That's
this.
awesome.
That's one of my goals.
That's
and anytime
cool.
high school or college professors or teachers ask me to come speak to their kids, I always do it. So that's a big thing, is reaching the youth.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you have to make learning fun.
Yes.
Right?
It should be fun. There's so many cool things to learn.
Yes, and that's like a huge issue they're having at schools now in this era, because they can't make, the 9 to 3 day like entertaining for the kids. Well, this is how to do it. But that mayor, back to her.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
So first of all, how did you, some of this information was like through like FOIA requests? Or?
So the trustees that I interview in the video, they're basically like the government people that are supposed to be her checks and balances. She's fired and pissed off so many of these people that they were more than happy to give us, here's the credit card statements, here's the FOIA request. So they gave us a lot of the firepower we needed to put together a compelling story that wasn't just allegedly stuff happening, but hey, here it is on paper.
And she walks around with her private police security all the time. She had a guy work 314 hours of overtime in 2 weeks.
Yes. He apparently slept 2 hours a day and he got a $13,000 paycheck. Here's the thing about her. I mean, you've met some high-level people, and if they have any security, it's like one guy.
Yeah.
She's rolling around in a convoy. She has a town of 190,000. She rolls in a convoy of 5 Tahoes that she overpaid by $60K for.
Yeah, what's the deal there?
I don't know. Maybe there's
$153K
kickbacks going
Tahoe?
on. So the Tahoe itself, brand new, $93,000, which in a city where like a third of the residents are in poverty, I don't know if that's the best investment, but she spent 6 of them. But not only that, she leased them at a rate $60,000 over that initial buying price. So
wait, explain that. She leased them?
Yeah, so
she didn't buy them.
So on paper, she's going to pay $153,000 for the vehicle once everything's paid out for a $93,000 vehicle.
And not even own it.
No, so here's more dirt on her. And this is stuff that I just have to say allegedly because I don't have the documents, but I have the stories,
We
the
use
anecdotes.
the word allegedly a lot
yes.
in here.
Yeah, it helps for legal reasons, Yeah. She does pay for play. So during COVID, there was like $60K awarded to business owners. Maybe 12 different business owners would get $5,000. But to get it from her, hey, Julian, I'll give you the $5,000, but you got to Zelle me $2,500 back. Or, hey, there's been a tax, it's some sort of tax credit for development. Hey, developer, we can get you $2 million from TIF money, but you have to wire me back $1 million of it. And if you don't donate to my charity, we're going to take your business license away. So there was multiple bars, restaurants that were out of business because they wouldn't play with her, and she took their business license away. Dr. Scott in that video, she has that strip mall that has the free grocery store. So what she does is a food market, not a food kitchen, like a place to get free food with dignity. So it's like a grocery store. You walk in, I can get the peanut butter, I can get a cereal. Right. All funded through her organization, but she has a lot of empty units in there that were going to help, like the overhead was going to help fund the charity. So if she could rent it out to other people, other organizations, she can invest that into free food for the people. She's been blocked from opening it up, all these like bureaucratic reasons that she can't do it, and she's bleeding right now. And I was just on the phone with her because we had an error with the GoFundMe. So there's a GoFundMe, we raised $30,000 for her, and there's 1,200 people so far that have watched that video have donated to it. Some's of $5, some's of $1,000. It's amazing. She on the phone with me, and she's like, the money's not hitting my account. I'm like, well, it's not hitting mine. And then like she trusts me, but she's also like, the most viable option probably in her mind is that it's going to me. So I'm like, fuck, like where is it? Turns out I had like an old Huntington bank account that I haven't used in like 2 years that somehow GoFundMe was still attached to, that it was depositing there. So I had to run to Huntington, take that money out, run to my Chase, and then wire it to her. And luckily she has the first chunk of it, and the another chunk of it's on the way. I have to go back to Huntington, to Chase. That's scary. Her overhead is like $10K a month at minimum. So we gave her another 3 months of operating room, but she's bleeding because of this mayor. So she
was that the lady who had her car allegedly shot up?
No, I believe that was Kiana. Well, I'm forgetting all these trusty names, but No, that's in a New York Post article. That lady that got her car shot up, and she's certain it was Mayor Tiffany's goons.
I'm not. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. What shocked me is I'm watching this video. I watched it the day it came out, and I'm like, I think it had been out for like 6 hours or something, and I'm thinking to myself, how the FBI's already in town, just on the basis of this video.
Hopefully.
How are they not knocking on the door already and saying, "Ma'am, you're under arrest"?
Yeah.
Like it's so bad. It's so blatant, and I've seen some blatant ass politicians. We've had Jim DiOrio in here a bunch. He worked in the public corruption unit of FBI at one point in his career. You know, he had some blatant ones. This is the worst I've ever seen.
I think to properly cover her, that video is 30 minutes. I think we would have had to have maybe a 5-hour video to properly cover her. I mean, she is outrageous. And that's the thing. There's a common trend in this country. She does it on a local level, but it's happening nationally. There are people calling themselves public servants, and a lot of them are our U.S. representatives that are somehow the best stock traders that have ever walked the planet, yet they have a full-time job as a senator. So we got Nancy Pelosi, we got Tommy Tuberville. Those are some of the best performing guys right now. It's so in our face that they're timing the market. Oh, you just invested $60K in an energy stock? Let me see the commission you sit on. Oh, the energy commission. Like, how are they getting away with it?
What's the old George Carlin quote? It's a giant club,
and
you ain't in it. That's it, man.
Mr. Carlin, good guy. His book is fantastic, by the way. Rest in peace.
I never read his book.
That's one of the secrets, I think, to the channel, too. We have a lot, like, most of the team are readers. So we are constantly, ever since I was a little kid, I read everything. So everything from biographies, like I would really recommend Teddy Roosevelt, Malcolm X, Benjamin Franklin. Those are probably my 3 favorite biographies. I mean, I just recently read a fantasy novel that my sister recommended, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty damn good." I think it's The Call of the Wind.
Like a sexual fantasy model?
Oh, like he was at half mast when he walked the gain plague. Like more like Harry Potter fantasy.
Gotcha. Well, sometimes those get a little.
I used to read a lot of like self-help books, but then there's a certain point where it's like,
you got to do it.
You know, like The War of Art. That's a perfect one, but his sequel, Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield, that is a Bible to me. Another thing that, as long as we're talking about this kind of subject, a reoccurring podcast that I listen to at least once a year is the Naval Ravikant episode on Joe Rogan.
So good.
It is like, it's like there's been times when podcasts like that, especially when I wasn't onto my path so much, I felt like I was in an ocean drowning, and that would be like a buoy that I was just holding on to, and it kept me afloat and kept me excited. So shout out Naval Ravikant and Joe Rogan. And Naval would be a guy that both of them would be people I'd love to meet. But,
yeah, Naval is so smart, man.
And his philosophy of life is perfect. I mean, it's just like, he gets it.
That whole thing that he talked about when he was growing up, where he's like, he would just start reading things, and the minute he got the utility from it, he didn't make himself have to finish it. That concept was so hard for me because I'm OCD. I'm like, I have to finish everything. Yeah. But now I do it a little bit sometimes where I'm like, wait a minute. I'm losing interest in this topic. I've gotten something from it. I'll move to this other book. Yeah. I have 15 to 20 books open at one time.
I think I get it. I get it. You coming from that mentality. But I don't know. If the book's shit, I'll discard it. But if I'm enjoying it, like, what's the point of interrupting the flow? Why you wouldn't have 15 podcasts open at once, right?
That's true.
That's
very true.
But to each his own.
Yeah, there's something about like when you have a ton of interest though. Like sometimes you're right. I'll get in such a flow with one of them. I end up reading that. Like maybe I'm gonna sit down, and this rarely happens now. I love reading, but like we're always working. Like, and I have 3 hours to read. I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna hit these 3 books, and then I end up with one of them because you do get into it. So that's a good point. But like I have a bunch open at once.
I think fiction is very powerful because. Yeah, if it registers enough, there's a lot of like human psyche and like also mythology. Like that's one thing, we're kind of losing our religion in this day and age. Where like we have nothing to guide us. Like all of the ancient stories, like I'll reference the book Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. All of these ancient stories that were ingrained in us and taught us the archetypes of life and how to proceed in the hero's journey, or they're treasures. And right now we're going into this post-religious, post-modern era where we have no nothing to guide us, and it's kind of like we're falling to the wayside, I feel like.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, I've had my issues with organized religion with the 10% that uses it for wrong, not the 90% who uses it for great.
Maybe 15-20%.
Right, yeah, maybe 15-20.
Yeah.
But they tend to take a lot of power over time throughout history, and you can't deny it. Like, you look at wars, you look at cycles, it really always comes back to some form of a religious belief. That said, it's very interesting to me that we have lost so much common sense in a time where, yes, maybe we don't have an enemy to unify against, like I mentioned earlier, but also in a time where people have turned very secular. There's something about that makes me seem like, is this a simulation because humans always need something?
Well, politics have become the new religion.
Yes, exactly.
And social issues have become the new religion.
Yes.
And I don't know. There's no human-created system that's going to be a good answer. I mean, if you look at the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages, that wasn't a fun religion to like have be in power. And I grew up in a megachurch community.
Oh shit!
Pull up a picture of this church, Willow Creek Community Church in Barrington, Illinois.
So you were going to the megachurch all the time.
They had escalators in there. Like, dude, being a kid in these churches was so fun because
the pastor driving a Lambo.
These guys were Dutch, so they were a little bit more frugal, and they hid their money.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bill Hybels, what he did with his money. I think he was rich, but he didn't flaunt it like some. I can't believe people still pay tithe to the guys who are like, God's gonna give me a Mercedes Benz, and they still put money in the plate. That's the main auditorium right there.
Wait, this is where you would go?
I would go there, but they also had 8 satellite campuses that were more local. So, like, a lot of times you'd go to one of the satellite campuses and you'd watch the main service that was happening there on a huge, big screen.
God.
And even the satellite campuses had thousands of people there. It was a huge, huge church. It's still, I mean, it was a great place, but and it kind of had a scandal there involving fellatio and whatnot, which is
wait, back
blowjobs.
Yeah, like Catholic
Lead
church
pastor,
style, or
not with boys or men.
Oh.
Female blowjobs, which
All right.
I mean, in the eyes of the Lord, I don't know what difference that makes. The lead pastor who built this thing from the ground up, and you can't take away his whole legacy for one blowjob because, let's just say to this. If you were in his position, a guy that had tens of thousands of people reporting
You're sucking the dick of God.
Sucking the dick of the Lord. I remember just the budget in the satellite church, like the weekly tithe, it was, I think, it was an average of like 50 to 70K a week, just in one of the small churches. So this guy, and they did an awful lot that was good. But I think if you were this like super like known pastor, basically like a minor celebrity in your circles, and some hot Christian ladies like, oh, I want to read Matthew 2:4 with you in your hotel room. You're like, oh, Matthew 2:4, I like that, And then she starts unzipping your trousers.
And then
every man is tempted. Every man can be tempted.
Leslie's over here like, yeah, that's right.
But there was that parking lot. You can't see the whole thing, but there would literally be a shuttle bus at some of the parking spots that would take you to the main entrance.
This is like the South Philly sports complex. Like where we have all the teams playing on one lot.
It's pretty sick. Oh, I was going to say this. As a kid, it was so fun to go to church because you'd walk in there, you'd put a fingerprint scanner, and they'd know that that's how you got in. There'd be basketball courts, video games.
You?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then they'd be like, Thomas, meet me in the back alley. I know. No, they weren't Catholic. None of that stuff happened. They didn't have any of the boy stuff going on.
So it was like non-denominational Christian type deal?
Mm-hmm. Now, they made church cool is what they did. Like made it like rock band type stuff. They had like not skits, like drama and plays.
Yeah.
They made it as cool as church could be.
And you're not religious today though?
Mm-mm.
When did that turn off for you?
Here, I got a couple answers for you. One, the more I read the Bible, the less I like it. Especially the Old Testament. The only thing that keeps me open to Christianity is the New Testament. But the thing that's so frustrating to me is you read the same 4 books that have a little bit of variation in the story, the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We're talking about Jesus, who is the most, if this story is true, he's the most important person to have ever lived. Yet here's his life. We have his birth. We have like one story where he goes missing and he's preaching. Then all of a sudden, 12 to 31 or so, off the map. We have no idea how he dealt with puberty, temptation, masturbation, all that. And then he just randomly appears, for his last 2 years of life where he does his ministry. And it's kind of bullshit to me. Like, how did Jesus deal with some of these struggles that I'm going through as a young man too? Then you read the Old Testament, and some of the stories, like there's like hand-picked stories that we'll continually visit in church. But there's a lot of stuff in that book that we never, like, if you read it out loud in front of people, it would be concerning.
Like what?
Let's see. Well, the one, let's just talk about circumcision. Okay. God is saying, for you to show that you're my dude, that you ride with my squad,
cut your
Bloods, Crips, cut off the skin of your penis, that, by the way, has the most pleasure sensors of any part of your penis. I mean, when Muslim countries do that to girls and they cut off the clit, we find that to be monstrous.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, what do we call it? The mutilation?
Yeah, we call it mutilation. But tell me this. He created you with that penis to have sex, that it obviously feels good. And he says to show belonging, that's what you have to do. If that was like a next door neighbor, you never let your kids go by that guy's house. But somehow when God's, he just wants the foreskin. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah, no, it's fucked. But I don't think any God would have done that. I think that's something like that is made up by some asshole.
I mean, if he does want that, is he really worth?
That's right. Exactly. And I don't want to think that.
There's plenty of stories of like a dad almost sleeping with his son's wife or maybe his daughter, but then he realized, like, he spilled his seed on there's just like stories that, I'm not even saying they're bad or good, but we avoid them because they're weird.
Right.
We handpick our stories in the Bible. And there's some really great stories in the Bible that you can learn a lot and that are, things that you can guide your life around.
Sure, and that's what people should use the good of things, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think you look at a guy like Jesus, poor carpenter, hung around poor people, didn't wear really nice clothes, didn't ride in on a shining horse. He was a man of everybody, allegedly, gave up his life for everyone. These are great things, but I feel like he was done a disservice as a historical figure by the Catholic Church, which if people out there, and I know when we get into religion, people get real tight, so I'm always really careful about this, but if you actually study the history of the Catholic Church, I'm not just talking the last few years of, some priests on little kids' peckers. I'm talking like the actual history of where this started, the Council of Nicaea, the testimony that they deleted from the New Testament, right? There are other gospels. There are other gospels that they just said, no, not that one, including allegedly Mary Magdalene's that may have written a little something about little Marito right there.
Whoa.
Yeah. But you look at stuff like that and you're like, what is there even to believe? Because this is just one example, but all written history has some form of human sin put on it, right? Meaning humans who decided, no, we know best, keep this, get rid of that, lie about this, tell the truth about that. And then over time, people are like, well, I guess that's what we got.
Yeah. I think if I were to go back to college, I would want to learn more about like because I was just seeing this the other day, like translation from Old English to New English to the New James.
Sounds right.
King James version to the modern, more non-denominational version. Like, it is a very different translation each time. And that's not even going all the way back to the Hebrew, the Greeks. And I don't know, dude. It just, there's something missing. I want to know what the hell the most important man ever to live on earth was doing from 12 to 31.
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Very reasonable. Very reasonable. But we got into this tangent talking about the loss of religion. You and I may have grown up in something like, I grew up Catholic, you grew up in a megachurch.
Are you okay? Or are you still going to therapy?
I was never an altar boy. Thank God.
Good.
But my dad was. Sometimes I want to ask that question. I don't know. Father Tom over there, you never know. But either way, like, us losing that organization in a way in society now, it does make you wonder, okay, do human beings, like we talked about tribes earlier, do human beings always have to put it somewhere? You said they put it in politics. I agree 100%. You look at people talk about things on social media, look at comment sections when people hear something they disagree with. I could never stand for this. I was watching this podcast and enjoyed it. Not anymore. Not,
do better.
Right. But sometimes they won't even give you that. They're just like, I'm out. Right? Because I heard one thing I disagree with. And it's like, we live in a world where people come from all different environments, all different countries, all different places, all different problems, all different good things, all different bad things, whatever it is. And there's going to be differences in places. But to another point you made, there is so much more that makes us similar. Like, pull someone who is left of the left and someone of the right off the street and ask them what their biggest problems are, and I guarantee you 3 of their top 5 are going to be very, very
Overlap.
similar. Yes.
That's who we should pick as the next president. Who is the guy? I don't know if it's RFK. I don't know if he just isn't around yet, but who is the guy that 70% of America can agree on his platform? Is not divisive. It's common sense, good for the people. That's the kind of guy we need. And
I just wish his voice really worked well.
that was a good.
It doesn't really in the morning. It's not that good, but it gets better as the day goes on.
Do you think if he had his voice fully intact that he would be the front runner?
Maybe.
That's a tough thing to overcome to become president.
That's why when he first said he was going to become candidate, I said he's got no shot, because I look at things like, I do like analyzing some of the politics. I can't stand politics these days, but I like analyzing the behaviors of humans and why we do the things we do. So you're not going to elect a really fat guy. We're still not in a position where, like, maybe if a woman was smoking hot, they'd elect her. And this sounds horrible to say out loud, but it's like,
you think she has to be hot?
The smallest
not too hot, but like 7 out of 10. 7 or 8 out of 10.
Right.
Not like you can't speak when she's around because that's how hot she is. But like, oh, yeah, she's pretty, but I can talk to her.
Good clarification there. But like, I'm not saying I agree with these things. I'm saying the smallest little swing of that middle 5% is what moves an election from a landslide to like tight to a landslide in the other direction. And there's just enough of a margin there in America that the most basic things, like someone's command, are they decent looking? Are they not? Enough humans respond to that's what they'll look at. So you look at RFK, obviously he's a Kennedy, that helps, I think. He's in shape, not with the CIA.
Dude,
but
he is jacked.
He's jacked, right? He's kind of like, even though he's a Kennedy, he has some of those everyman qualities, but I heard that voice and I'm like, there's no shot. And then
he grows on you.
He's
an acquired taste, because to listen to him is a little bit more of an undertaking. You have to invest into it. You have to, I don't want to say suffer through it, but once you get used to his voice, you're like, this guy is compelling.
He is. I will tell you, the 3rd hour of that Joe Rogan podcast was one of the best campaign hours I've ever seen in my life. He told stories with visuals. He spoke to everyone. You could almost not tell political leanings. It was common man
beautiful.
Problems.
And I love too how well read he is and how much he understands history.
Yes.
Like you could ask him, like, what was happening in Cuba in the 1960s and why this led to this, and he has a perfect analysis. Why do you think the Russians felt this way in the 1980s? Well, if you look at he knows his history extremely well, and that's another thing that should be a prerequisite to being a president is, if you haven't learned from history, you're going to repeat it. So he seems like a guy that knows how to play the field. He's tough. He's strong. And also, I think that the 2 other choices are so divisive right now that he seems like a pretty clear alternative, a way to start fresh again.
You got Trump versus a dead guy. It's like, is this the best we can do, people? Like these are the last guys picked on the dodgeball team. And that's what we're putting out there. And then it's like, well, the third guy can't talk.
They both would die in the next 4 years.
Well, let's, again, to our friends at the Secret Service, we wish them a long, peaceful, happy life.
One guy eats fast food and he's in his 70s or 80s. The other guy, he's impressive too. Like Donald Trump will go down as one of the most interesting people of this era. And he's an amazing marketer.
Yeah, he's the second best marketer
Even
I've
if you're
ever seen.
the biggest blue hair in the world, you should be able to look at Donald Trump and say, like, this guy is funny. He's a great marketer. It's going to be, the debates between them are going to be, I'm going to say hilarious in the front end, but probably sad on the back end.
Yes.
Because you realize, this isn't just like a 2-hour event. This is the future of our country.
You think they're going to let RFK on a debate stage?
Right now I know that there's a lot of, he has to get on the ballot of California. He has to get on the ballot of, I think it's Oregon. There's like little, why are you looking at me like that?
Could you just see Trump with him on a debate? Well, with my father, shut the fuck up.
But here's what will happen. RFK.
CIA killed my father back in 68.
Oh, no. RFK will double leg the shit out of that guy. I guarantee RFK would.
He knows a lot more. Yeah.
So.
You're saying physically he double leg the shit out of him.
RFK would put either of them on their back and finish the fight with punches.
I agree with that. I mean, the dude is he definitely
he's
lives.
on some good shit.
Yeah. That's not one.
His biceps are gigantic.
Yeah, what was the one video? He was like this jacked and he did like 9 push-ups and got tired. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's not all real.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's great because like we're so obese now as a country too. It's like, okay, one of them's in shape.
One of them doesn't exercise because he believes that there's a finite amount of heartbeats that exist in your body. Trump. The other guy can't exercise because probably would need his diaper changed. So it's just like having a president who is mentally and physically fit seems like a good start.
Yeah, it seems like a great start. It's crazy though. I've told this story before on the podcast. I used to caddy at Wilmington Country Club where the Bidens are and everything. So
really?
when he was vice president, we'd know he showed up because all the fucking golf carts with the Secret Service guys would be there.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I was around him, I never caddied for him directly, but I used to caddy for someone very close to him all the time. And the last time I was around him was towards the end of the summer, 2014.
Okay.
I'm down on the practice tee with the guy I'm going to caddy for. I had seen the cart, so I knew he had to be there. And suddenly I hear someone coming down, like there's a ton of guys on a Saturday morning on the tee, busting balls, like, "Hey, Jim, how are you? Bill, what's going on? How's it hanging?"
The old boys club.
Yeah, oh, my God, like shit like that. And I'm like, oh, that's the vice president. Gets up, starts striping it, 250, 250. Hey,
he's got a
Bill.
good swing?
At the time he did, right? Like
Good
he was
for him, dude.
but I'm looking at him, I'm like, isn't this motherfucker old? Like he was like 70, 71, but he's like a little jacked, whatever. I'm like, damn, he might be able to like run for president. And then the next time I like saw him, I guess, because he didn't run obviously in 2016, was when he came out on the stump speech to open up March 2019, which is less than 5 years later.
Okay.
And I'm like, this motherfucker must have had like 4 brain aneurysms. I mean, he couldn't. Even at the beginning, he couldn't finish a sentence, and he was like this frail old man. But they forced him on us.
How are they keeping him going?
Drugs.
Do you think it definitely revealed, like, we've always, like, even at the most basic level, like, even if this is your first puff of weed, you're like, the Illuminati run shit, man. Like, it's the puppet government. It's now confirmed. The fact that things are still happening and he's the figurehead, like, it's for sure there's someone pulling the strings.